I'm disappointed, and you guys probably know why. If you guys somehow haven't heard, the Merch Tactics trophies have not been reset with the new season. Now, I'll get into my theories of why I think that is in a bit, but I first want to go over the public reception of this new season. So, if you guys don't know, I'm pretty active on Discord. I run my own Merch Tactics Discord server. So, I've seen how a lot of players were behaving, like things they're saying leading up to the update and after the update. And, you know, to put it quite bluntly, a lot of people are very disappointed. Leading up to the update, I saw a lot of people were very excited, you know, for the new season. And the reason this season is so, the reason this update or this reset would be so significant is because, as you guys have known, the top of the leaderboard is just currently dominated by those early season bot farmers, right? And there's absolutely no way anybody, any newer players, can catch up to those players. Right? I'm sure you've seen the top guys 21k. There's nobody in their right, there's nobody who could possibly catch up to that guy post bots. Now, the reason that's so significant is because I believe the best players right now are top 500. I believe they're about 4.5k, kind of that range. But in game, it says top 500, when in reality, they should be top 100. And they can put in all of these hours, put in all this practice just to get a top 500 position. Now, don't get me wrong, top 500 is very impressive. However, those people, in my opinion, deserve, a top 100 placement because they're, I believe, the top 100 best players in the world right now. And this reset, if it happened, would make it fair for those players because it would allow who I believe to be the truly best players in the world to actually earn the spot they deserve. And that's why this reset would be so significant. That's why it was really needed to keep the game going. Um, and a lot of people, after seeing that this reset didn't happen, were really disappointed. And rightfully so, because the game in its current state is really unplayable at a competitive level. Of course, it's still a fun game, right? You know, but the issue is if you're really trying to play it competitively, you're trying to practice, get good, and have the results show for that, it's not possible, right? Because there's no way you can catch up with the leaderboard. The leaderboard is very flawed right now. So we really needed that update or that reset. Now, as for why I didn't think a full update occurred, well, it's because, if you know Supercell, right, they like to come out with articles and videos before the updates come out, right? Like for example, this past season, they advertised the furnace a lot, right? They made videos on him, they made articles about the rework. So Supercell is very transparent, and it makes sense, right? Because they want to get people hyped up so that they can get as many players playing the new update as possible. So yeah, I get that there probably wouldn't be any new content like new cards or traits or whatever. Um, that was expected, at least in my opinion. But what was not expected was the reset, because I feel like a reset is a lot more simple to execute, right? It doesn't involve creating, brainstorming a lot of new content. So that's honestly kind of the least I expected. But when we didn't get that, I was pretty bummed out. I was pretty bummed out to say the least. And I feel like, you know, the issue right now is not that we're not getting any updates or even a reset. That's not the problem that I have personally. The problem I have is the lack of transparency from Supercell right now. I understand like the game is a month old. Don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting anything insane from Supercell. All I'm asking for is, a simple message, right? Like, how resets or updates will go in the future. Because if you guys have seen in their initial article, they said, well, merge tactics is purely experimental, right? We're just gonna see how you guys like the feature, and if you guys like it, we'll make content for it. Now, in this past month, I feel like we've given them enough of a message that we really like this game mode, right? It's I feel like it is probably the most popular game mode that Supercell's ever released. that significantly alters the gameplay. Of course, we're excluding like 2v2, sudden death, things like that. But I feel like we've clearly shown them. And in response for our support, we've given our time, our money, into this game mode. I feel like they should at least give us, a clear message of how this is going to go moving forward. We've shown them that we're serious about this game mode. And, we've seen indirectly through leaks, like, yeah, they're serious about the game mode too. They're coming out with content, things like that. But as a player, I feel like I'm left in the dark here. Let's move on to the next game before I continue. But yeah, I basically feel like we're kind of being left in the dark right now. We're not really getting that much information, um, regarding the future, right? I think, I don't think it's too difficult to, just write a message and be like, this is how the game will be moving forward. This is how seasons will work, updates will work, things like that. Like, that is just more than enough for me personally. Um, because I feel like it was very misleading, right? They didn't say anything about resets, so I feel like we were rightfully confused in that a lot of us expected at least a reset to come with this new season because that's how the seasons work in Clash. Resets occur, in the seasons. Um, I personally understand why that happened because in their article, right, they said there is no end to this season. But I feel like a lot of the community was still confused, and that's pretty unfair. Because just they're getting all worked up about it. Especially accompanied by the leaks that were all over social media. People are getting worked up, right? Excited about the future of the game. So I feel like at least some transparency would be nice. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on Supercell, right? They've done a fantastic job with this game mode. This game mode is very fun. Um, they've done a good job with, especially with the leaks I've seen online. It looks like they're really putting in the work um, to improve this game mode for everyone, right? And I'm all for it. Like the cards, they look extremely fun to play. They came out with a decent number of cards, it looks like, um, online, at least through the leaks on social media. So I'm very excited. It looks like they're being very serious in that regard. Um, but the only reason we know that again is because of the leaks. So at least I feel like they should give us some information regarding that. At least anytime soon in the coming week or so. I feel like that would be pretty nice because they should know that by now a lot of people are confused. Like, wait, what's going on? No reset. So I feel like that would be very nice. Now, in terms of um, what I believe when I believe the next update will be or the next trophy reset will be, because a lot of people have been asking me that in my live streams, on Discord. I feel like that's the number one question. When will this reset occur? Here's my leading theory on it, and what theories I've come to regarding my opinion and what a lot of other people have been saying on, online, social media, Discord, whatever. The first theory, and probably the theory with the most evidence, I guess. There's not that much evidence to begin with, but it's the shop on the home screen. The Merge Tactics shop that displays all of the Merge Tactics cards you can buy. And at the top of the screen, there is a timer that says 154 days or something like along the lines of that. That's when this offer will end, and that's when supposedly, um, you know, the cards could, disappear, the cards could be rotated in, things like that. Now, what this theory is saying is that, yeah, in 150 days or whatever, the cards will be rotated out. Basically, that's what this theory is saying. This theory is saying that's the next update. Now, how, I guess, believable do I think this is? Well, first of all, this is really the only theory with some sort of evidence, right? Again, Supercell hasn't really put much out regarding, timings of updates and resets, but this is the only theory that actually has that time, right? 150 days. Now, to me, that seems like a long time. 154 days. I mean, from the leaks, it seems like they have at least a working prototype of all the new cards, right? They have like some We don't know if that's all the new cards, but it looks like they have really good progress for, the game being released a month ago. So I don't know. Like, I hope it's not that long. I personally don't think the update will take that long, but we'll see. Now, in terms of an actual content update, I actually that might be reasonable because cards do take a long time to program, design, things like that. Um, but as for the trophy reset, I don't think it will take that long. Because if it does take that long, well then we're doomed because the game at its current state is unplayable. Now the second theory, which is purely speculative, is that the reset comes one day after the season, right? And I mean, clearly that wasn't true because it's already been a day and there's no reset. So that's clearly not true. Now, the third theory is that, well, maybe the reset will come um, maybe in the middle of the season or at the beginning of the next season, right? That's what some other content creators, that's what some other people online have been saying. But my answer to this question of when the next reset will be is I don't know. And there's really no way of knowing for sure because, again, like we've seen that the reset is not, it's not, it's not done at a normal interval, at a consistent interval, rather. You know, we have zero information of when this reset will happen. We've been told from Supercell that, the season has no end date. Right. And that so far, as of now, merge tactics is purely experimental. That's what they said in their first article. And so I'm going off of that and I'm thinking, well, yeah, we have no idea until they release some sort of official statement on this. So that's what I would take away. Is just we can't know. We're waiting now for Supercell to initiate. Right. We've done what we could, so we're just waiting for them. Now, the big question here is now that we know merge tactics did not get an update or a reset, all we have is one round of balance changes. The question here is, well, you know, is merge tactics getting another season, or is merge tactics just a temporary game mode that is not going to be repeated? It's not coming back. Now, my answer to this is I think merge tactics for now is going to be a permanent game mode. And I don't just say that because I'm a content creator. I say that because of, I guess, the evidence we've been provided. Again, mentioning the leaks earlier, they've come out with a lot of new cards. They've been working hard on these new concepts, right? The wizard, the witch, musketeer, things like that, the new traits. A company wouldn't do that if they weren't going to continue, you know, having the game mode published, right? If it was a dead game mode, they would just not create any content and then they would just vault it. Right? So that's my first reason. The second reason is just the public reception, right? There's so much content and popularity for merge tactics online that it just makes absolutely no sense for them to vault the game mode. Right? There's so many new like content creators, so many established Clash content creators that are making content that have made content for it in the past, and these videos are getting views, right? It's getting traction. It's not like some dead game mode. Right? There are the numbers to prove this, and I know they definitely do see it in their data, right? So that's the second reason. Just the public reception is just, it wouldn't make sense for them to vault it. Now, of course, we've given them our support very clearly, but I will say if they don't do anything soon, the game mode will die. To put it quite bluntly, the game mode will die if they don't do anything soon. Because the one issue with merge tactics, in my opinion, is that it's too repetitive. Right? Every round is the same. You have the same exact comps, the same sequence. You just farm elixir, then you get merges, then you build your comp. And there isn't much variability to this. The only variability is the RNG and the players you face. Right? You go for the same 4 comps every game, right? Clan, Rangers, Throwers, and Forest Golden Knight. Basically, the same 4 comps every game. It's not like Clash where we can survive a long time without any new updates because there's just so many different decks you can face and so many different interactions that, if you play a lot, don't get me wrong, the game can feel a little stale, but it's not to the same extent as merge tactics. That's the one issue I believe that merge tactics has. Now, the concept itself is amazing in my opinion, right? It's just that the game gets a little stale if it doesn't get updates. Like with all games, right? Every game will get stale pretty much without updates. Well, of course, there are a few exceptions, um, like chess, for example, but most games. So, we're at a very crucial point in the game's state right now where we're just kind of waiting for Supercell. Again, a common theme in this video is that it's all up to Supercell. We've given them our support, our time, our money. Now the ball is on their court and it's up to them to respond. So those are my 2 cents about my opinion on, the update or the reset not coming out, but ultimately it really just is up to them and they have to act soon or else the game will lose popularity. As you guys have seen, probably the game is losing popularity, is losing traction because of how repetitive it is. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. A lot of you are like, a lot of you probably loved the game when it came out, but now it's getting a little repetitive. So that's my opinion on the new season of Clash Royale and the lack of trophy reset for merge tactics. Now, guys, I love the game a lot. I think it's really fun. I like it enough that I became a content creator for it, right? So this game is very special to me personally, and I just hope that they do something with it soon, man, before they kill their own game before it dies. So yeah, that's this video, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.